Set 17 CSR Technical Question and Answers. Answers are highlighted in green. Question 1. Which section of a CSR should contain the rationale for the study and its objective? A phase 3 oncology trial was conducted to evaluate the efficacy and safety of a new targeted therapy. The sponsor wants to ensure the CSR provides a clear rationale for the study. Now here the option B is methods and analysis. Now the methods and analysis is related to whatever the statistical methods and implementation and the analysis that you will be doing. But here the consideration is related to the objective. So this is not the right answer. So option C says results. Now results is nothing but like what statistical results are presented and how it will be interpreted, right? So we are interested in objectives and not in results, right? Now the section appendices is nothing but the list of TOC or a table of contents. It shows how many number of tables will be there, how many figures will be there, and how many listings will be there. Their table number, listing number, figure number, and their titles will be there, and a small sample format also will be there, right? So that is nothing but my appendices. But here we are dealing with this section of the study and its objectives, right? So this is not the right answer. So the correct answer is introduction. Introduction is a section where the CSR should contain the rationale for the study and its objective. Question 2. In a CSR, how should missing efficacy data for a primary endpoint be handled? A phase 2 trial evaluating a new diabetes medication has missing HbA1c values for 5% of subjects. What is the most appropriate method to handle this in the CSR? Now option B, ignore missing data as it will not impact conclusions. You cannot ignore such missing data when we are dealing with the efficacy parameter, right? So ignore is not the option. Option C says replace missing values with the mean of all subjects. So you can't do this unless and until there's a rational reason mentioned in the statistical analysis plan. So you cannot replace such kind of values with any kind of statistics. Option D, remove all subjects with missing data. Now this you cannot do it because even though the data is missing, you have to keep it as missing. You have to present it as missing in tables and listings, where in figures it will not be seen, but still it would be considered. So the reason is the correct answer is option A, use last observation carried forward LOCF or another imputation method and justify the choice. So LOCF should be used to handle the missing efficacy data for the primary endpoint, especially in the phase 2 trial. Question 3. What is the primary purpose of the CSR safety results section? A phase 3 cardiovascular study included a high number of adverse events. How should the CSR address these in the safety results section? Option B says only report the most common AEs for the investigational drug. No, you cannot only present only some of the common AEs. Wherever we are dealing with the human patient in the clinical trials study, you need to present each and every adverse events in the table listings and figures. So this is not the right answer. Option C says include only AEs that led to study withdrawal. No, you have to include all the AEs and hence this is not the right answer. Exclude unrelated AEs to maintain focus. No, you cannot even do this because you need to know which AEs were related and which AEs were not related. Now that kind of counts and percentages tables will be there in whenever we present the listings, right? So the primary purpose of the CSR safety results section is to summarize all AEs, serious adverse events, deaths and adverse reactions related to treatment. So the correct answer is A. Question 4. When discussing statistical methods in a CSR, what key information should be included? A CSR for a phase 2 trial includes a comparison of two treatment arms using an ANCOVA model. What statistical details must be reported? Now option B says only the primary endpoint p-value and the confidence interval. No. Just mentioning only the endpoint and its corresponding p-value does not give you a better picture of the statistical assumptions, methods, test, whatever you have used, right? Because there will be other parameters as well. There will be secondary endpoints, there would be additional endpoints, there would be various other endpoints would be there. So you need to mention each and everything. Option C says the software used for analysis without detailing the statistical model. Now this is an irrelevant option as compared to this question. Option D says only descriptive statistics with no inferential analysis. Well, it's not only descriptive statistics. You can mention descriptive statistics but along with other parameters as well. But here the option says only descriptive, so this is not the right answer. So the correct answer is whenever we are discussing statistical methods in a CSR, the key information that should be included would be the hypothesis, statistical model, covariates and handling of multiplicity adjustments. So the correct answer is A. Question 5. Which CSR section contains detailed patient level listings such as SAE? A regulatory authority requested patient level listings for SAEs in a phase 3 trial. In which section can they be found in CSR? Now results is the result section where we generally present the results and we do the interpretation. So this is not the right answer. Methods is a specific section where we mention what methods were used, what were the assumptions, what were the calculations and the formula. So that methods will be used. So this is not the right answer. Discussion is something other section where it will be discussed what all things needs to be included. So this is not the right answer. So the correct answer is appendices, in which section you can list the patient level listings such as SAE. Question 6. What is the role of the discussion section in a CSR? Now, a phase 2 trial showed promising efficacy but had a higher discontinuation rate due to side effects. How should this be addressed in the CSR? Now option B says only summarize efficacy results without discussing safety issues. Now the question says what is the role of discussion? So if you are presenting something without discussion, so that is not the right answer. Present raw data tables without interpretation. Well, whenever you have a raw data, you will present it in some form, either listings or tables. So in statistics, it doesn't go without interpretation. You have to interpret whatever the table listings and the values and the figures that you have generated, right? So without interpretation is not the right answer. So this is not the right answer. Option D says discuss efficacy but avoid comparison with other studies. So this, we are not interested in comparing other studies. We are interested in the discussion for the section, right? So the correct answer is option A. The role of the discussion section in a CSR is to interpret efficacy and safety findings, compare with previous studies and discuss limitations. So comparison with other studies does not make sense. Now what other studies may not know, but yes, you can compare with the previous studies. Question 7. When should an addendum be added to a finalized CSR? A phase 3 trial CSR was finalized but new safety data emerged after submission. How should this be addressed? Option B. Modify the original CSR without regulatory approval. Well, you cannot modify the CSR by not taking regulatory into confidence. So this is not the right answer. Whatever you are doing, you have to mention to the regulatory people also. Option C says ignore new data since the CSR is finalized. No, you cannot ignore the new data because that new data is new request, or like say for example ad hoc or some addition kind of request has come once the CSR is finalized, right? Even though the CSR is finalized, you will still see in some studies or in some section in some companies there will be an extra work. So that addendum is nothing but your extra work or the addition after finalizing or after completing the study. Now, say for example, it could be subgroup analysis. Now, I did the analysis by various treatment groups and by various stratas, but the result was not appropriate. So, what happens is the sponsor or the regulatory, they tell you to further divide the data into subgroups. Either it could be age category, or it could be race category, just to see what is the effect of safety data in the various subgroup analysis. So in those scenarios, that is an addition work or the extra work that has been given after finalizing the CSR, right? So option D says create a new CSR. Now, it does not make sense in creating new CSR because you have already created a CSR. Even though the CSR is finalized, no doubt, you can add the addendum section later on once ever you have submitted the finalizer, once it has been reviewed. So the correct answer is A, add an addendum to the report, new findings and their impact. Question 8. How should protocol deviations be documented in a CSR? A phase 3 trial had deviations such as missed visits and unblinding incidents. How should these be handled in the CSR? Now, option B says exclude deviations as they do not impact the main. No. Whatever, even if it's a minor deviation or a very silly deviation, that still needs to be included. You cannot exclude either minor or major kind of deviations. Option C, report any major deviations, ignoring minor ones. No, this is not the right answer because the deviations are categorized into two types, minor and major. Irrespective whether the importance or the severity of that deviation, the minor and major, both type of deviations should be presented in the form of either table, listings or figures, right? So you cannot only focus only on major, you have to include the minor one as well, right? Option D says discuss deviations only in the internal company report. No, there is nothing called as internal or external company report. Whenever you are working with clinical trial human patient data, whatever you are analyzing, one way or the other, it's going to get published, it's going to go to regulatory, it's going to go to the US FDA authorities, it's anyways going to go to the external or outside the company, the results, right? So there is nothing internal kind of. Internally, it's just that you are working in that organization and you are reviewing and you are ensuring that everything is in the place. So the protocol deviations in CSR, they should be summarized in the CSR method section, and it also you should provide the details in the appendices. So the correct answer is option A. Question 9. What is the purpose of the CSR synopsis? Now, synopsis is nothing but like, a small section or a one page or a two-page kind of study details where it will include all the information, like say for example the study number, the protocol number, then the study title, then the protocol amendments if they were there, then what are the methods, then what are the treatments which are there, now what kind of doses is, whether it is tablet infection or syringe or kind of liquid kind of like study, then what is the objective, the hypothesis objective in terms of statistics, what was the recruitment plan, sample size, then what is all your kind of methods and respective. So it's a very small kind of abstract for that particular clinical study that will include everything. So anybody who sees that synopsis for that particular clinical trial, that person should be able to understand what kind of clinical study or trial is going on. Now, a sponsor needs a high-level summary of the CSR for a stakeholder meeting. Which section of the CSR should they refer to? Now, option B, methods, is nothing but where you will present the statistical methods. But here we are interested in the synopsis, right? So B is not the right answer. Option C is discussion. Discussion is something different panel. So this is not the right answer. We are interested in the synopsis. Option D is appendices, where it deals with the list of TOCs, but we are interested in the summary of the CSR, right? So this is not the right answer. So the purpose of CSR is to generally summarize a specific clinical trial study, where it will capture all the details, all the important details that can be discussed in the meeting with all the stakeholders, so that everything, so that everybody and all departments, they are on the same page. So the correct answer is A, synopsis. Question 10. What is the correct approach to present subgroup analysis in a CSR? A phase 3 oncology trial explored efficacy differences by age group. How should these results be presented? Option B, only present results if they show statistical significance. No, this is not the logic that we use for presenting results or presenting the table listings and figures. Irrespective whether the hypothesis is significant or non-significant, we will present all the data. Now, option C says avoid discussing subgroup findings as they may lead to overinterpretation. Well, you cannot avoid or overinterpret or something. These kind of fundamentals, they are not suitable to work in clinical trials human patient data, right? So whatever that you're discussing, you should discuss and you should add that. Option D says report all possible subgroup comparisons without adjustment for multiple text testing. Now, whenever you are doing any subgroup comparisons, you have to check the adjustment and you have to do the multiple testing, right? That is what is the adjustment testing. So this word is not appropriate. So D is not the right answer. So the correct approach to presenting subgroup analysis in a CSR section is to clearly define subgroups, report statistical methods, and interpret results cautiously. So the correct answer is A. Please like, share and subscribe. Leave a feedback comment mentioning any topic that you want me to make a video. Looking forward for a positive response. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Leave a feedback comment. Many thanks for your support and having great connection.